Hello everybody, my name is Dang and this is my serial practicing English. And today, as usual, I choose a book to read. And I think today I finished this book. This book called Goodbye Mr. Hollywood, John Scott. Goodbye Mr. Holiday. Oh, goodbye Mr. Hollywood. The girl suddenly took Nick's face between her hands and kissed him to the mouth. Try carefully, Mr. Hollywood. Goodbye, she said with a big, beautiful smile, and she turned and walked quickly away. Nick Loans doesn't understand. He only met the girl 10 minutes ago when she came and sat next to him in the cafe. So, whether she kissed him when she leaves and whether she called him Mr. Hollywood, he thinks about these questions when he drives into Vancouver, but he doesn't find the answers. And there's one more thing that Nick doesn't know. Somebody is listening when the girl says goodbye to him. Somebody is very interested in the name Mr. Hollywood. And in Vancouver, Nick soon learns that it's not friendly interest. And this book has 100 headwords. And this is step 1 for the pre-read. The publisher is Oxford University Press. So, Chapter 1, Mystery Girl. It all began a beautiful spring morning in a village called Whisper in Canada, a pretty little village in the mountains of British Columbia. There was a cafe in the village with tables outside, and at one of these tables sat a young man. He finished his breakfast and drank his coffee, looked up into the blue sky, a very warm sun on his face. His Loans was a happy man. The waiter came up to his table. More coffee? He asked. Yes, Ray, said Nick. He gave the waiter his coffee cup. The waiter looked at the camera on the table. On the vacation, he said. Where are you from? San Francisco, Nick said. He laughed. But I'm not on vacation. I'm working. I'm a travel writer. I'm doing a book on the mountain in America. I've got some great pictures. Your mountain. The two men looked at the Whistler Mountain behind the village. It looked very beautiful in the morning sun. Do you travel a lot then? Asked the waiter. All the time, Nick said. I write books and I write for travel magazines. I write about everything, different countries, towns, villages, rivers, mountains, people. The waiter looked over Nick's head. There's a girl across the street, he said. Do you know her? Nick turned his head, looked. No, I don't. Well, she knows you, I think, the waiter said. She's watching you carefully. He gave him a smile. Have a nice day. He went away back into the cafe. Nick looked at the girl across the street. She was about 25 and she was very pretty. She was watching me, Nick thought. Then the girl turned and looked in one of the shop windows. After a second or two, she looked back at Nick again. Nick watched her. She looks worried. He thought, what's she doing? Is she waiting for somebody? Suddenly the girl smiled and she walked across the street, came to Nick's table and sat down. She put her bag down the table. The bag was half open. Hi, I'm Jane, she said. Do you remember me? We met at a party in Toronto. Hi, Jane, said Nick. He smiled. I'm Nick, but we didn't meet at a party in Toronto. I don't go to the parties very often. I never in Toronto. Oh, the girl said, but she didn't get off and move away. Have some coffee, Cynic. The stories about the party in Toronto wasn't true, but it was a beautiful morning and she was a pretty girl. Maybe it was a party in Montreal or New York. The girl laughed. Okay, maybe it was, and yes, I'd love some coffee. When she had her coffee, Nissa asked, what are you doing in Whistler, or do you live here? No, oh no, she said. I'm just traveling though, and what are you doing here? I'm a travel writer, Nick said. I'm writing a book about the famous mountains. That's interesting, she said, but her face was worried and not interested. She looked across a road again. A man very short, white hair walked across the road. He was about 60 years old and he was tall and thin. The girl watched him. Are you waiting for someone else, Nick? No, she said quickly, and she asked, where are you going next, Nick? To Vancouver for 3 or 4 days, he said. Where are you going? When are you going? She asked. Later this morning, she said. Those were a letter in the top of the girl's half-open bag. Nick could see some of the writing, but he read it because he saw a word, Vancouver. We can meet at the Impress Hotel Victoria, Vancouver Island on Friday afternoon. So, she's going to Vancouver too, he thought. Suddenly the girl said, you like movies? Movies? Yes, I love movies, he said. Why? I know a man and he loves movies. Go to the cinema, she said slowly. People call him Mr. Hollywood. She smiled. Nick. Can I call you Mr. Hollywood too? Nick laughed. Okay, he said. And what can I call you? She smiled again. Call me Mystery Girl, she said. That's a good name for you, said Nick. Just then, the man with white hair came into the cafe. He did not look at Nick or the girl, but he sat at a table near them. He asked the waiter for some breakfast. Then he began to read a magazine. The girl looked at the man and then quickly looked away again. Do you know him? He asked her. No, she said. She finished her coffee quickly and got up. I must go, she said. Nick stood up. Nice to... he began, but the girl suddenly took his face between her hands and kissed him on the mouth. Try carefully, Mr. Hollywood, goodbye, she said with a big, beautiful smile. Then she turned and walked quickly away. Mistletoe again watched her. She walked down the road and into the big hotel. Now what? Thought Nick. What's that all about? The man with the white hair watched Nick on the waiter. After 4 or 5 minutes, Nick finished his coffee, took his books and his camera, and left the cafe. His car was just outside the girls' hotel and walked slowly along the street to it. The man with the white hair waited a second, then quickly followed Nick. Oh my God, what is that? From the window high up in the hotel, the girl looked down into the road. She saw Nick and the man with white hair about 50 yards behind him. He got into his car and the man with white hair walked quickly to a red car across the street. 5 seconds later, Nick rode away in his blue car and the red car began to follow him. When the girl saw this, she smiled and then went to put something in her travel bag. Oh my gosh, they have something to have. a hand bag. That evening, in his hotel room in Vancouver, Nick could not stop thinking about the girl in the Whistler cafe. What did she come and sit with him? She did know him, and that story about the party in Toronto wasn't true. And she was worried about something, but what? And that kiss? It was not, of course, but why did she do it? Maybe she liked my face, Nick thought, or my brown eyes. But I'm not going to see her again, so it doesn't matter. Forget. He put some money in his pocket and went downstairs to the hotel restaurant. But there were no free tables, so he walked down to Gastown and found a restaurant there. After dinner, he went for a walk. Vancouver was a very friendly city, and Nick liked walking through Galston and Chinatown, looking at the shops and watching the people. It was nearly dark now, and it was busy time of evening. There was a lot of car and a lot of people. After a time, Nick began to walk back to his hotel, and he came to a busy street and waited with a small crowd of people to go across. A tall woman in a blue dress stood next to him. She turned and smiled at him. "It's the first warm evening of spring," she said. "It's nice to be out after the long, cold winter." "Yes," said Nick. "It's great." Suddenly, there was a hand in his back, and the hand pushed Nick into the road. Nick fell on his face in front of a big green car. People screamed, but the green car stopped. Only inches from Nick's head, the woman in blue dress ran into the road and pulled Nick to his feet. "Are you okay? What happened?" she said. The driver of the green car shouted angrily at Nick, but Nick did not hear him. Oh my God. There's okay. There's a hand in his back, and the hand pushed Nick into the road. Oh my God. "Someone pushed me," he said to the woman. I didn't fall. Somebody pushed me." "Pushed you?" said the woman. "Who? I didn't see anybody." Nick looked at the face of people near him, but he didn't know them. Then he saw a man's back. The man was tall, thin, and had very short white hair. He walked quickly away down the street and did not look back. "Hey, you!" Nick shouted. "Wait!" But the man did not stop, and he was soon lost the ground. "Did he push you?" he asked the woman in the blue dress. Nick fell on his face in front of the big green car. "Okay. I don't know," Nick said. "Do you know him?" she asked. "I don't know his name," he said, "but I know that short white hair. No, where did I see it before?" The woman began to move away. "I must get home," she said. "Are you okay now?" "Yes, I'm okay," Nick said. "And thanks for your help." "That's okay." The woman smiled. "Be careful now." Back in his hotel, he sat on his bed and thought. It was an accident. Nobody pushed me. It was an accident. Nobody wants to kill me. And there's hundreds of men in Vancouver with white hair. It was 1 o'clock in the morning, but Nick couldn't sleep. He listened to the cars in the road and looked at the night sky through the hotel room window. Then he sat at the table, tried to write some more of his book about mountains, but he couldn't think about his work. He got back into the bed. There were 4 or 5 magazines in the hotel room. They were not very interesting, but Nick sat in bed and opened one and saw a photo of mystery girl. He looked at the picture very carefully, but yes, it was her, Jan, the girl from the Whistler Cafe. She was next to a man about 50 or 55, and they were in the garden of a big, expensive house. They smiled at the camera and looked very happy. Canadian millionaire Howard Hudson and his daughter Meg is said under the picture, and their home in Toronto. Meg Hudson, not Jane, not mystery girl. Meg Hudson, the daughter of millionaire. Read it again. Why did she come and sit with me in the cafe in Whistler? He thought, millionaires' daughters don't sit with strangers in cafe and then give them big kiss when they leave. Why did she do that? What did she want? He thought back to the cafe in Whistler and the girl next to him at the table. Then he remembered something. He remembered a man at the table near them in the cafe, a tall, thin man, about 60 years old, a man with very short white hair. He didn't sleep much that night. A walk in the park. The next day was Thursday. Nick stayed in his hotel room and wrote about mountains all morning. Then he rode to Staley Park in the afternoon. He sat and read book for an hour. Then she went for a walk under the tall trees. There was nobody here. It was quiet, and he could walk and think. He thought about Meg Hudson and about the man with white hair. Did he know Meg Hudson? Did she know him? He remembered Meg Hudson's last words. Try carefully, Mr. Hollywood. Why did he say that? Why did he call him Mr. Hollywood? He didn't understand any of it. Suddenly, he heard a noise. He stopped. That was a gun. He thought, there's somebody in trees with a gun. There it is again. Then something hit the tree over his head. Somebody shooting at me. He thought. He turned and ran, and somebody began to run after him. Nick ran through the trees. There was no sun in here, and it was half dark, and there was no people. Nobody to help him. I must get to my car, he thought. Find some people. The police, he ran on. He could still hear the gunman behind him. So he ran faster, and after 3 or 4 minutes, he stopped and listened. Nothing. It was quiet. Nick afraid. What's happening? He thought. Why is somebody shooting at me? First, a hand pushes me in front of the car, and now somebody is shooting at me. He waited another second too, then walked quickly back into his car. He was very carefully. He looked and listened all the time, but nobody came down from the trees and nobody shot at him. Then he saw people, women with young children, some boys with football, 2 men with dogs. He began to feel better. Nobody can shoot me now, he thought. Not with all these people. 10 minutes later, he was back at his car. There was a letter on the window. Nick read it. It said, I'm going to kill you, Mr. Hollywood. Oh my gosh. How many people are these in this town with guns? So, what are you doing? What are you going to do? Asked Nick. Nothing, said the policeman. Oh, no. Nick drove to the nearest police station. He waited for half an hour. Then a tired young policeman took him into a small room. Nick told his story and the policeman wrote it all down. So what are you going to do? I said, nothing, said the policeman. Nothing, said Nick. But somebody shoot at me, and Mr. Lords. The policeman said tiredly, how many people are there in this town with guns? I don't know, said Nick, but you didn't see the gunman. Was it a man, a boy, a woman, colors of eye, long hair, short hair? Don't you know? Because you didn't see anybody. Maybe it was an old girlfriend. Maybe somebody doesn't like you to travel. They like your travel books, Mr. Lords. But what about the man with the white hand whistler? Said it. The girl Mackerson called me Mr. Hollywood in a cafe, and this man hear her, and now I get a letter to Mr. Hollywood on my car. Who is this Mr. Hollywood? We all want answers to our question, Mr. Lords, the policeman said, but we don't always get them. Questions, but no answer. Nick walked out of the police station and rode to his hotel. He was angry and afraid. How did the man with the white hair find me in Vancouver? He thought. Did he follow me from Whistler? Is he following? Is she following me right now? Maybe he's staying at my hotel too, in the next room with his gun. Okay, I think this is the end for today. Page 18. And in the PDF, it's 15. So until next time.